For those people who don't know, I serve in the youth. I've been with the youth for a couple of years now. I am a graduate of the youth as well, and I attended WINC once or twice also when I was a young kid before they promoted me straight to the youth. And you might have seen me walking around but not know me. Give you a clue to those people who don't know who I am. I always seem to be carrying a very cute kid. No, I did not kidnap her. Yes, I am her father. Yes, this is my color, and that's her color. All right, so another fun fact about me is that I quit my job as a sales engineer back in June, and then from then on, I've been teaching. And while teaching, I've learned to dislike two things. I dislike two things, and that's called dab and bottle flip. I really, really dislike with passion. Dabbing is the act of putting your head. Can I have Limwell? You were doing it earlier. Can you stand to the front? Can we welcome Limwell? Come up here. All right, Limwell. Okay, dabbing is usually meant to celebrate something. So Limwell, you just hang on. Don't dab yet. I planted somebody to do a bottle flip because I don't like bottle flipping. I'm not going to do it in stage again. Go, Franz. Kuya Franz, can you come up? Franz. No pressure, but everybody's looking at you. No pressure at all. Just, 100 over people looking at you. So Franz will do a bottle flip for you guys. To explain it in a teacher kind of way, it's an act of throwing a half-filled water bottle in the air, causing it to somersault in the air and land on its bottom. And now, Franz, show us how it's done. Oh, no pressure. Yeah! But see, kids no longer yay. You know what they do? They dab. 1, 2, 3. Dab. So imagine Franz does that, and then he succeeds. He doesn't like, yes, now it's dab. All right, so thank you very much. Thank you. All right, the reason why I dislike it in class is because my students, while they're listening to me, they're sitting down, then they're like, so that's what they do. So that's what they did. Settle down. All right, see, exactly. This is what happens in class. If somebody does it in class, then everybody's going to be dabbing. Like, like, let's say Ahmad did it. Ahmad, oh, you're good. I hated it. So I banned them from doing bottle flip and dabbing. To do a dab, okay? I was actually known as the teacher who threw away the most number of water bottles in school because I would confiscate it and throw it away. But Children's Day and Teacher's Day came along. Right? So Teacher's Day, the kids organized a game, which is the Minute to Win It. And being a new teacher, I got volunteered to be up on stage to go against a student on a task. Guess what's the task? Bottle flipping. So I became the person who hated bottle flipping to actually the teacher who did bottle flip. And then Children's Day came along, and the teachers had to dance or, to entertain the kids. That's how the world works now. So we dance, entertain the kids, and then one of the dance steps is dab. So you have to do a dab after the dance. So I became the guy who hated dab and bottle flip to the guy who actually went on stage to do it. So as early as last week, I went to a class I did not teach at all. I did not know them. They did not know me. So I went in. I like this lapel. I can walk around. So I went in. I said, my name is Mr. Calvin. Then they said, Cha, I know. You're the one who did the bottle flip, right? No. Unfortunately, yes. Yeah. Then that day, right, you did that, right? Yes, I did. We know you. Oh, very good. I'm like, It's very weird because what I learned dealing with children is that what we say is not as important as what we do. And children are always, always watching you. So it's important to always model a life worth following. This is my one-point message. Kids, you can also do this to your younger siblings. You're here now because you're considered old enough to come and listen. And then there are those younger ones who are with their teachers inside. So this also applies to you. This goes out to the youth who have their brothers and sisters looking up. This goes to the unmarried people who have young eyes staring at them. And this goes out to the parents, which I am gladly part of. But this is a bit scary because you have to model a life worth following. In the Bible, there's plenty of examples of lives lived or lives modeled that are worth following. We're going to touch on on one such relationship that's between Joshua and Moses. I'll just give you the brief of what happened before this. So a bit of background, Joshua 1 is the start of Joshua's leadership. At this time, Moses has died. Moses, who has led the Israelites in the wilderness for 40 years, has died, and now it's Joshua's time. All right, so let's just read very quickly. No one will be able to stand against you all the days of your life. This is God to Joshua. Okay, God talking to Joshua. And then God said, as I was with Moses, so I will be with you. I will never leave you nor forsake you. Be strong and courageous, because you will lead these people to inherit the land I swore to their ancestors to give them. Be strong and very courageous. Be careful to obey all the law my servant Moses gave you. Do not turn from it to the right or to the left, that you may be successful wherever you go. I highlighted two things that meant two instances where Moses is mentioned in God's address to Joshua. The first one was, as I was with Moses, so I'll be with you. I'll touch on that later. But I want you to see that be careful to obey all the law my servant Moses gave you. Before Moses died, he made sure that he gave the law to Joshua. As adults, as people that are looked up upon, it is also in our best interest, in our children's best interest, in our brothers, sisters' best interest, that we give them the right laws. Okay? But let me dwell a little bit more on the first one. As I was with Moses, so I will be with you. This is God to Joshua. God showed his faithfulness to people and then promised us that I will be with you till the end of age. Same promise. Same God, same promise. Joshua had to know how God was with Moses. Right? In my teaching also, there's this thing called modeling. That a teacher has to model the proper behavior to the student. And in this way, in this instance, Joshua had to know how God was with Moses. Moses had to model how God was to him, or it had to be seen. Okay? So in a sense, Moses had to model a life worth following. This word model, there's a technique. There's this thing called I do, we do, and then you do. As a teacher, what we do, it's a lot of do's. First, we start off with I do. Let's say we're doing a math equation. So what is 9 times 9? So I have to show them how it's done. So I'll write on the board, dear children, this is how it's done. Stop bottle flipping. No dabbing. So that's a common thing in my class. You know, this is how it's done. I'll write it down, and then okay. And then I'll start a new question, and then we do together. So I'll put blanks. I'll give clues. I'll get them to participate. I'll get them to say the answer, and then I'll just write it down. That's the we do. And then my favorite part as a teacher, you do. So the reason why it's my favorite part, because it's the easiest for a teacher, because here you go, quiz. Here you go, homework. Here you go, exercise. You do it. In the same way, Moses lived a life that showcased this. I'll touch on a few later on, but we'll start off with I do. So, first, Moses modeled for Joshua how victories were won with obedience, not strength. This is one of my favorite. Okay? Back in Exodus, they're all walking in the wilderness. There were people fighting against the Israelites. And God, being God, He gives, in human terms, very weird instructions. One of the instructions He gave was, put your hands up. So He did that, like, put your hands up, Moses, then you'll win the war. That's weird. I don't know. Don't you find it weird? Like, put your hands up and you'll win the war. Yeah, right. I train. This is, my six-pack and all that. But Moses obeyed. So the Amalekites came and attacked Israelites at Rephidim. Moses said to Joshua, choose some of your men and go out to fight the Amalekites. Tomorrow I will stand on top of the hill with the staff of God in my hands. So Joshua fought the Amalekites as Moses had ordered, and Moses, Aaron, and Hur went to the top of the hill. So this is setting the scene. Moses was telling Joshua, hey, go out there and fight them. I will not go down with you because I will be on top of a hill with my staff, with the staff of God in my hands. If you're Joshua, I was trying to think, if I'm Joshua, I'll automatically ask, why you never come with us? It's a war, you're a leader. But Joshua obeyed. Okay, I'll skip to verse 13. So Joshua overcame the Amalekite army with a sword. Then the Lord said to Moses, write this on a scroll as something to be remembered and make sure that Joshua hears it, because I will completely blot out the name of Amalek from under the heaven. What happened between verses 12 and 13 is that the battle was won because Moses had his arm up. As long as he had his arm up, the Israelites were winning. And then he put it down, they lost. Won, lost. Won, lost. You get the drift, right? No matter how skilled Joshua was, it didn't really matter, because this mattered. Won, lost. Obedience mattered. Obedience won the war. And I like this one. I like the one I highlighted. Make sure that Joshua hears it. This is God telling Moses, make sure that Joshua knows that he did not win it because he is skilled. He won it because of obedience. This, I don't know, I read it many times. So when I read it this time, I'm like, oh wow, God made sure that Joshua heard it. Us, as parents, as brothers, as sisters, as kids, we have to make sure that we pass on that knowledge, that battles are won, not because we're smart, not because we're good looking like me, not because we're... Sorry, I had to. I have the mic, you have to listen to me. Not because you're talented, but because you obey. So another thing he modeled is Moses modeled how a relationship with God should be like. In the two verses that I'm going to show you, Moses invited Joshua into this relationship. The Lord said to Moses, come up to me on the mountain and stay here with me, and I will give you the tablets of stone with the law and commandments I have written for their instruction. This is God inviting Moses, come up to the mountain. Come up to the mountain with me. In fact, it's so secret that some of the elders were not invited. So then Moses set out with Joshua, his aide, and Moses went up to the mountain of God. They set out together, Joshua and Moses. First, I spoke about God telling Moses, make sure that Joshua hears it. This one, Moses brings up his aide, right? Maybe he can't walk well, but still, he didn't have to bring him up yet. He did. And he said to the elders, the other elders, hey, it's just going to be me and Joshua, okay? You guys stay back. You all got any problem? Ask my brother. See, that's a Singaporean way of telling this. Because he said to the elders, wait here for us until we come back to you. Aaron, my brother, and Hur are with you. And anyone involved in a dispute can go to them. So yeah, effectively, he said, oh, it's just going to be a buddy trip. Me and him going to see God. You guys stay back. Got any problem? Call my brother. Okay, we'll come back soon. I don't know when, but we'll come back, hopefully. So they went up. Another time, Joshua was invited to God's and Moses' private time. You know, back then, maybe in the desert, there were no trees, so they didn't have a tree house, but they did have a tent of meeting. They had a special place that only the two of them could talk. You know, you can't even go near because you'll die. You can't even touch it, you'll die. That's how private it was. That's how private the relationship was. And yet, Joshua was invited to that relationship. Let's see. In Exodus 33, verse 11, the Lord would speak to Moses face to face as one speaks to a friend. Then Moses would return to the camp, but his young aide Joshua, son of Nun, did not leave the tent. It just shows that he was there in the tent also. While Moses and God were conversing, they were in the tent. Joshua was in the tent, so he's present. Moses allows, Moses shows, he models this relationship. This is how a close, connected relationship should be between God and a leader, God and a human being. This is how close we should be. Now, I'm trying to liken it to my life. Here on earth, how am I doing it? How do I have a relationship that close? And I do. I have a very close relationship with Rebecca May's mother, right? There was one time, a few nights ago, I went to have dinner with my friends, and one of my local friends, he came late. He was uncharacteristically late. We couldn't contact him, and we knew that he rides a motorbike, and it was raining very heavily. So all sorts of thoughts were running through my friend and my head, because my friend's brother just had an accident, motorbike accident as well. So he's freaking out. So my friend came, and we're like, hey, wow, why you come? Why so late? We were so worried about you. We finished the satay, but we're so worried about you. And then he's like, my phone died. It's fine. I was wise about it. I did not ride through the rain. I said, oh, by the way, Maybelline is relieved too. And then my friend asked, like, how did Maybelline know? Maybelline's not here. Maybelline doesn't know that I'm late. Little did I know that I'm so connected to Maybelline that what was worrying me or what was happening at that instance, I was subconsciously texting Maybelline, hey, he's here. Okay, bye. Then Maybelline replies, oh, wow, that's good. I'm relieved too. Then I told my friend. That's how connected it was. Now, my relationship with Maybelline is of a lower level of how God and Moses are. We don't have a tent of meeting. We just have the bedroom. And even then, Rebecca May is always in between us. So in a sense, if I were to parallel it, it would be like me and Maybelline speaking and our baby being there to witness. Now, I had to ask myself, have I ever modeled my relationship with God to any of the youth? Have I told them how, when on my times of weakness, I pray to God? Maybe we should ask that question. Because modeling a life worth following is something that we should do. So I do, and now we do. Right? So far, we've seen how Moses allowed Joshua to see the relationship between God. We've seen Moses make sure that Joshua heard how the battle is won. And now we go to the we do. For Moses allowed Joshua to have some authority so that they could govern the Israelites together. Again, this surprised me because I had to study I've read it. I've tried to speed read it because I have this, Bible plan to complete the Bible in 1 year. So I speed read it, and then I got reminded of this only when I was studying for the sermon. Because there was one instance that Moses was commanded to actually give some of his authority to Joshua. We can find that in Numbers. So the Lord said to Moses, "Take Joshua, son of Nun, a man in whom is the spirit of leadership, and lay your hand on him. Have him stand before Eleazar, the priest, and the entire assembly, and commission him in their presence. Make sure that everybody sees that you're laying hands on him. Make it official. Make it legit. And then, give some of your authority so the whole Israelite community will obey him." This seems very insignificant. This seems like an admin work. But I want you to see that give him some of your authority. It's not an added authority. It's taking Moses' authority and passing it on to somebody else. That's the we do. When we do with our children, with our brothers and sisters, with anybody who's looking up to us, we are giving them the responsibility to do something together with us. There's no such thing as you're too young in the we do. But of course, you have to model and then get them together. So this is Moses allowing Joshua to have some authority so that they could govern the Israelites together. And it wasn't just a case of, here, get some authority, go ahead and do it, up to you. No, he had to do it together because Moses had to model a life worth following. Or else, Joshua would just anyhow do it. He had to know how it's done. And you can do it at us, and he could do it if they serve together. So now we have I do, we do, and then my favorite part, you do. You do is when we have exhausted ourselves explaining that 9 times 9 is equals to 81. You've shown it in different ways. You've shown it with pencils. You've shown it with drawings. You've shown it with sweets. You've shown it, you've exhausted it in the I do, right? In the we do, you've filled in the blanks. You've got them to do it with you. You made sure that they kind of understand it. And then you do, you just hope and pray. Literally. And watch them do it themselves. For Moses, he encouraged and dedicated Joshua to God. For me, the most touching one was when Moses was going to die. Imagine this. You were plucked from the desert, charged by God, go and set my people free. You go to Egypt, stubborn Pharaoh. Pharaoh says, "No way, Jose." And then you said, "Let my people go." So you went through all the plagues. God showed himself faithful. You and God are like friends talking face to face. You walk around the wilderness with the thought that promised land is coming anytime that God wants me to go there. You go there, you mess up, and then God said, because you mess up, you won't be able to go to the promised land. You can only see it. In our world, we're going to think, "Oh, Piang, that's so unfair. I worked so hard and I didn't get a promotion. I worked, I did so much OT and, my boss thinks I'm lazy. How can?" We can have bitterness, but let's do what Moses had, which is still hope. In his last few days, Moses encouraged and dedicated Joshua to God. In adult life, there are many disappointments. I've come to experience some. But there are choices that we could make. Can we influence our child or our youth to be bitter like us? Or can we encourage them to do something greater than us? For Moses, this is very important. Deuteronomy 31 is his farewell message. Then Moses summoned Joshua and said to him in the presence of all Israel, "Be strong and courageous, for you must go with this people into the land that the Lord swore to their ancestors to give them, and you must divide it among them as their inheritance." I want you to notice that this is Deuteronomy 31, and in the book, Deuteronomy comes before Joshua. Deuteronomy comes before Joshua. This is Moses telling Joshua, be strong and courageous. You know what God said in the next book? Be strong and courageous. That's how close they are. You know, I'm longing for the day that I don't copy God's word. God actually copies my word. Or not copies, but God tell me something, and then I say it, and then God confirms it. That's how close. For me, it's just like a fan moment, because that's how close that's how close Moses and God were. That Moses was not just mimicking God; they were so in sync that what Moses said is what God wants to say. Many of us, we just, we're at that level where we read the Bible, which is good. We read the Bible, and then we say it. I want to reach that point where I'm so in sync with God that when I say something, God led, God fed me, I open the Bible, oh yeah, God confirmed me. Anyway, sorry, that was my fun moment. So back to this. So Moses summoned Joshua and said to him in the presence of all Israel, be strong and courageous, because I am dying. Be strong and courageous because I am leaving you. He did. Spoiler alert, he did. And the Lord himself, this is Moses to Joshua, the Lord himself goes before you and will be with you, and he will never leave you nor forsake you. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. You can do it. He's like, what's his name? Do it. Like, the Transformer guy, right? He goes around, do it, because I'm not going to do it. This is very humbling. We all have dreams, right? That we may or may not be able to accomplish. But we have to dream bigger for our children. Not pressure them, but encourage them to be better, to be strong, to be not discouraged. However, you can only say that if you lived a life, if you modeled a life worth following. In very simplistic terms, this is the Joshua 1. This is God repeating, be brave and courageous, be strong and courageous. As I was with Moses, I'll be with you. Right? In very simplistic terms, Moses won't be able to tell Joshua to pick up the litter if he himself never picked it up. If Moses himself was not brave, was not strong and courageous, he cannot tell Joshua, be strong and courageous. Moses had to model it. Okay, Moses had to model a life worth following, or else it's just empty talk. So let's revise. We have I do, we do, and you do. Very simple. We saw how Moses did it. We saw how Joshua had to see it. I wish I could end here. To be honest, it may not seem that way, but I kind of planned from the first slide up to here. I wrote, I typed. It was very easy because the material was there, and I was speaking from a point of learning, and I was absorbing and just putting it out in words. That was the easy part, ladies and gentlemen and kids. Because I hope that was the end, but it's not. Because like dab and the bottle flip, no matter how much I say it, but I did it, it wouldn't matter. Because the life that I was living did not match the words that I was speaking. Talk is cheap. And we're not supposed to talk about a life worth following. I'm very good at that. I tell my youth, hey, do your devotions. And then for me, before I sleep, I'll, go to Instagram and just scroll, then I'll sleep. Hey, when you're worried, go and pray. Then for me, when I'm worried, I'll go and text Maybelline. Talking about life worth living, worth following is so easy. But unfortunately, or fortunately, we're not supposed to talk about a life. We're supposed to model a life worth following. This hit home because I know I'm not perfect. Especially now I have my own child, 7 months old, and I look into my life. The mistakes that I had, I haven't been the best boyfriend or husband. I haven't been the best child of God. The words that came out from my mouth, I'm not proud of. The thoughts that enter my head that I entertain, I'm not proud of. The places where my feet have brought me to, I'm not proud of. How can I turn to my child and say, don't do that when I did it? But thankfully, God is merciful. There's always a second chance for each one of us, including myself. So what happened was in the past. We have to look forward now. We're all not perfect role models, that's for sure, unless your name is Jesus. Do we have a Jesus in the house? No Jesus. Oh, sorry, joke time. My friend said, hey, when my child grows up, can he date your child? Your child's name better be Jesus. Say, why? Because my daughter only loves Jesus. Now we're going to get married. So anyway, we're not yet there. No, even Paul was not, as we will see. But we can work towards modeling a life worth following. So this is just my simple, the following few slides are going to be my simple, practical ways we can do that. And yet, I remember when I was doing this, a thought came into my head. What if people are going to say that Joshua and my kid are different? He's going to lead Israelites to this promised land against this many kings. My child is just going to Kranji primary school. I wish they were different, but it's not. Joshua faced countries who were more established. They were already there. They had their kingdoms. They had their walls. Our kids, our disciples, face society which are more prevalent. Social norms that are already there. Religions that are already there. Joshua faced countries whose norms go against God's laws. We live in a world where in the society whose norms go against God as well. Same-sex marriage, killings, abortion, polygamy. It's all cool, all normal. It's all acceptable. Respect everyone. But see, Joshua did not go to the promised land chilling. It's not like, it's all cool, you guys stay behind your wall, you guys stay behind the wall. No. Joshua went there to break down walls. Our children, our disciples are going into the world not to fit in. They're supposed to stand out. So the battle is similar. It's hard to go on because the enemy kept, while I was preparing this, the enemy kept suggesting, if that's the case, then Rebecca shouldn't look up to you because you failed. But I'm so happy and so encouraged that God has many chances. And today is another chance for me to be better. So in the I do. So Moses modeled for Joshua how victories were won with obedience and his relationship with God. We should model, or I should model, a life that is obedient. We all know the golden rules. We all know that we're supposed to love God and love people. And we all know that there's this thing called Great Commission, to go around and disciple people. And yet, I don't do that. I want to do it today. I want to start today. I hope you are with me. All right? And also, I want to model a life where I have a real relationship with God to connect with Him. That my first thought is about God. And that I'm so in sync with God that when I speak, God's word comes out. I want to start today. And that can only be done if I am intentional. If I listen to Him. If I read up on Him. So I want us to do that as well. Moses did his ministry with Joshua. For me, I want to do God's work with the youth, with the children, with people I'm discipling. My youth usually laughs because they think I'm just, arrowing them and just letting them do all the work. Maybe. But part of that, because I want to empower them. This is an important area that as a parent I want to apply, and I realize my parents have been applying for us. So my mom and dad has allowed us to have family devotion, and then we lead it. Maybe Kuya Randy, when he was here, he would play, he would choose the songs, or we would talk about it. We would just be inclusive. You can do it your own way, but one of the ways is to have a family devotion. To have that moment where you connect with God together, so that your children will see how it is, and they will get a chance to lead it as well. You do. So Moses encouraged and dedicated Joshua to God. For us, I know I said it's the easy part, but it's the part where we need faith the most, because we can't do anything tangible. We can help out a little bit. We can do assists. Like, how my dad put on my jacket. That's all, but he can't be here talking to you guys. So let's continue to pray for our children and beyond our family. I know it's Children's Day, but children, these are the children of the church. It's your children too. So I just want you guys to and myself to pray and to actually care. And one more important thing about you do, because we always mistake ministry as filling something up. Pastor Butch and I think Andy Stanley mentioned it before, that if there were two glasses, one for you and one for somebody you're discipling, your job isn't to make sure that this is all filled. Your job is to make sure that yours is emptied. Again, your job is not to make sure that your disciples' cup is full. Your job is to make sure that yours is emptied. So here we are in the I do, we do, and you do. I'm not perfect. Like I said, I don't see anybody walking on water in the church, so I don't think anybody's perfect. But today, let us make the decision to start living, to start modeling a life worth following.